Hello, I'm Javier Harkeen, and this is Harking Back, a podcast about the pop culture of a lifetime. Whose life? Mine. I'm going back through every year I've been alive and finding out what was going on in that year. This year, it's 1990. I was 8 years old. What were you doing in 1990? By the way, well done. We made it through the 80s. We made it through the wilderness, baby. If you're still listening, thanks. Oh, the 90s. We're getting to some real meaty shit now. This is great. This is where I really form some memories. Expect a lot of stories. Oh, God, when I think about being 8, I was at primary school. Do you know what happened at 8? I think it was the first time I ever had a crush on a girl and the first time I ever got crushed by a girl. What happened was I asked for a BMX this Christmas of 1990, I think it was, because up until then, I used to have my first bike. It was a little red bike, and it was for 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds. Anyway, I was 8, and I still had this little red bike. And it was, I think I was just a touch under looking like I was a circus performer riding it. Okay? And it didn't help that it had written down the side of it, Little Nipper. That was the name of the bike, Little Nipper. And it didn't have any gears, it just had back brakes. If you remember those, it just had the pedals where if you wanted to stop, you just had to pedal backwards and slam your heels backwards. Anyway, that was my bike, and I would ride it to school. And I had a crush on a girl. Let's call her Hannah. And Hannah, I just had a crush. It was my first crush. I was like, oh my God, this is this girl, Hannah. And one day we got paired together in class. And I was like, wow, we got paired with Hannah. And then afterwards, it was the last class of the day. And we'd got on really well. And she said, do you want to walk home together? Which way do you go? And I was like, oh yeah, let's walk home together. It sounds great. Or at least, at least as far as we go together and then we part. And I said, I've just got to go get my bike. And so we're walking over to the bike stands and we're chatting away. It's good, for an 8-year-old, what do you talk about when you're 8? Like, who fuck knows? But we get there and I pull out my bike and she just looks at me and just goes, is that your bike? And just kind of scoffs and laughs. And we didn't end up walking home together that day. And I felt like, oh, jeez. I looked at it and it was the first time I'd ever looked at it and gone, oh, yeah, it's a little kid's bike. And so I went home that day and I said to Mum and Dad, can I please get a new bike for Christmas? This one's really small. And they looked at it and they went, oh, shit, yeah, you still got that? You still ride that? Yeah. So that was the first time I was crushed. Anyway, what was happening in 1990? Some things I found out. John McEnroe is disqualified from the Australian Open for 3 code violations. The last one being swearing too much. Do you know how much you have to swear in Australia to have Australians say, all right, mate, that's okay, that's enough of that shit? I just think it's hilarious. Only John McEnroe could do that. By the way, John McEnroe, he commentates on a lot of tennis tournaments these days, especially Wimbledon. I hate when he commentates because he always brings it back to him. Anything that is just, they'll be talking about, oh yeah, he's really under a lot of pressure out there, John. And John will be like, yeah, it reminds me when I was, when I was doing this tournament. He brings it back to himself all the time. He's like a mean girl, in the group of popular girls. He was just always, they'd be like, it's not always about you, John, but he fucking makes it every time. I swear to, like, they could be talking about what someone had for breakfast, and he'd be like, yeah, I remember my breakfast routine. Shut up, mate. You cannot be serious. Also, by the way, if you're hearing a lot of banging and stuff around me, it's because the builders upstairs are having a party up there. That's the only thing I can assume is happening up there. It's not building up there. I think they're having a party or stomping someone to death, I think is what's going on up there. So apologies if you hear that. In 1990, New Zealand hosted the Commonwealth Games. You know the Commonwealth Games, Olympics Light. Diet Olympics. I can't believe it's not Olympics. New Zealand hosted it. We did okay. I mean, but everyone does kind of okay at the Commonwealth Games, right? I almost said Olympic Games. Go back and look at the logo for the Commonwealth Games for New Zealand. It really looks like something that you'd find on a North Korean official document. It's like red, blue, and these stars. It screams Kim Jong, well done. Also, Akira Kurosawa in 1990 wins an Academy Award for Lifetime Achievement. If you don't know who Akira Kurosawa is, he was a director. If you've ever watched a clip of a Japanese black and white samurai film, it's probably Kurosawa. He's really famous for movies like Sanjuro, Hidden Fortress, which a bit of Star Wars was based on. Seven Samurai. Yeah? Seven Samurai was remade into The Magnificent Seven twice, and probably Seven from the Boys too. Maybe comes from that. Anyway, Seven Samurai, I remember, it's probably his most famous film. And I remember this because I watched it with my dad, and it is a fucking long movie. And I don't know what was happening on the VHS box, because we were in the video place choosing videos, and Dad was like, oh, Seven Samurai, this is supposed to be a classic. I don't think he'd seen it either. It's from 1954, and the box said, the running time's always on the back, and it said something like 87 minutes. And we were like, okay, 87 minutes, great, it's a classic. We both like samurais, let's go. It's going to be a bit old, it's black and white, but fuck it, it's a classic, let's watch it. This movie is 207 minutes long. It's 3 hours and change. And we went into it thinking it was going to be 87 minutes. And it was the longest fucking, or not quite hour and a half of our lives. We were watching it, but we just kind of kept looking at each other going, I don't think it's going to wrap up soon. Like, it's just getting going. This movie is so long that even on the VHS cut, it still has an intermission. All right? It's not in a cinema. On the movie tape itself, it goes, okay, the tape even has to take a break. It's so long. Oh, God. It became a bit of a joke with us. Just be like, yeah, is it Seven Samurai long? Yeah, Seven Samurai long. So I love Seven Samurai, but it was a little bit tainted because I just kept thinking, like, it's going to wrap up soon, it's going to wrap up soon. It did not. In 1990 also, Kelsey Grammer, the actor, was sent to jail for 30 days for drunk driving. I find it amusing that a guy that gets done for a DWI while starring in a show called Cheers. That's method acting right there. That could give that guy a fucking Emmy as well. Roseanne Barr sings the national anthem in 1990 at a baseball game. Why? She's a TV comedian. She's not a singer. Why would you get her to sing the national anthem? I say this because it went down in history as one of the worst national anthems ever. Of course, no shit. It would be like if you asked Stephen Hawking to throw out the first pitch at a baseball game. That's not what they do. I find it really weird, especially in the UK, this fascination or this obsession with getting celebrities that do one thing to do another. Like Celebrity Bake Off. Oh, what, you're a track and field star? Bake a cake. Oh, you're an actor? Do some ski jumping for us. It's always, I think that's maybe the sign that you're a celebrity, when you are known for one thing and they ask you to do something else. And it's always with mediocre results, let's be honest. Also 1990, Beverly Hills 90210 premieres. My sister loved this. Do you remember the intro? Do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do, bunch of teenagers just kind of skulking around LA. Looking back, like the trials and tribulations of these rich kids in Beverly Hills, like, who the fuck cares? Tough. Gonna get in my convertible and ride home. Who cares? Anyway, I find it funny because these guys are supposed to be in high school, and everyone was like, these are not high school children. Look at them. Luke Perry was 24 years old, playing a high school student. Shannon Doherty was 19. Okay, not so bad. Not so bad. Luke Perry, no, you didn't get away with that. My sister was so into it, and I think she had a crush. I think this is maybe one of her first crushes. I don't know. You have to ask her. But it was the first time I do remember seeing men, like the guys on it, like especially in the intro, just kind of pouting to the camera and trying to be sexy. I remember just for the first time going, I didn't realize that they were being sexy. I just remember them looking at them and going, what is going on with their faces? What's wrong with their faces? I'm looking at you, Jason Priestley. You're the biggest offender of that. All right, what was going on in video games in 1990? Okay, let's just go through the top 5 video games. This is from fandom.com. Top 5 selling home video games of 1990. At number 5, Dragon Quest IV. I'd never heard of it, but it's very much a Japanese title because it's the full name is the full name is Japanese Quest. Japanese Quest. Find the noodles. It's Dragon Quest IV. Dragon Quest IV, Michibikarishi Monotashi, which I'm sure did really well in America. Number 4, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Nintendo game on Nintendo 1. Number 3, Dr. Mario. Well done, Mario. You branched out. You got that degree. Went from plumber to doctor. Well done, you. Number 2, Tetris. And number 1, Super Mario Brothers 3. I mean, not a lot has changed in this top 5 from the other ones, and it feels like some names are just rolling around, which seems a little not boring for me, but when you stop and think about it, that really shows the longevity of games back then. Like, maybe a game just could be super entertaining for 3 years back in this era. Whereas these days, we're just always like, oh, next thing, next thing, next thing, next thing. I bought myself a Steam Deck last year or the year before, and I love it. I love it. But what that means is, because of the limitations of it, it means I'm just going back and playing games that were really huge in like the 2000s or the 2010s, and I'm loving it. Just going back and also those big titles back then. Now these days they're dirt cheap. Great, go back and do it. Revisit games that were huge that you couldn't play back then, but now you can. Do it. You forgot to do it. Other games that came out in 1990, Double Dragon 2 on the Nintendo. I just have a special place in my heart for this one, because I think I told you guys that I wasn't allowed a game console when I was a kid, but during the holidays, if I'd been good, I was allowed to hire one out for a day, and I would spend all day on it, and there was kind of nothing. It was a good deal, because I'd just be all day on it, and my parents were like, well, he's going to get it, one day on a video game console. I mean, it's not that he's going to love video games for the rest of his life. It's been a shitload of his adult life playing video games. Sorry, Mum and Dad, you fucked up there. I love them now. And Double Dragon 2 was such a simple game, but I loved it. You could kind of get through the whole game once you learned this one special technique, but I always love it. I even got it on my phone, and I played it on the tube. It was great. Memories. Two Crude Dudes, released in 1990. Do you remember this game? Two Crude Dudes was a beat-em-up game, and it's about two guys that clearly executives in the 90s. This is such a what do you call it? When you're manufactured from a boardroom. This is clearly like, we did studies and we found that young people like guys in sunglasses. Two Crude Dudes is two overly muscular guys with like big spiked up mohawk hair and sunglasses and cigars. And it's what they were like, okay, what do 9-year-old boys really think is awesome? And of course they're wearing leathers. Of course they are. And they go around beating shit up. And it's the first time I remember looking at a game going, this is so lame. You know when something just has the stench of corporate over-meddling and you're like, ugh. You can tell the suits got into this one. Fuck that game. Commander Keen came out in 1990. I remember having this on PC. Do you remember it was shareware? Do you remember the shareware model? The shareware model, if you're not familiar with, and every 90s kid remembers this, is where a game would have like maybe 4 episodes to it, right? But essentially what they'd do is they'd release the first quarter of the game for free. You could get that for free, and you'd get hooked into the game, and if you wanted to play the rest of the game all the way through, that's when you'd have to send away and pay some money. So very much the drug dealer model of shareware. Like, the first one's free. You get hooked on this, so you come back to us. Also 1990, Streets of Rage released. I found an interesting story about Streets of Rage. It was a great beat-em-up, and everyone loves it, but it was a response. Because what happened was Final Fight was a beat-em-up that was going really, really huge in the arcade. And Super Nintendo? Yes, Super Nintendo. Was it Super Nintendo? Yes, they did a port. Had the Super Nintendo come out yet? Shit, I feel like I've let you down on my research. Anyway, I remember Streets of Rage was it must have come out, Super Nintendo. Let me look at this. Sorry, guys. I feel like I've let you down, because last time I told you when the Genesis came out and the Super Nintendo. Anyway, it's probably one of those things where it came out in Japan and they held on to it for a long time. Anyway, the Final Fight was huge in the arcades, and they did a port of it to the Super Nintendo. But you could only play single player on it, which is, what the fuck? Beat-em-ups are made for you and a friend on a couch. That's why they work. No one likes playing them on their own. Anyway, Sega saw this and were like, we've got to make a game of our own to rival this, because we don't have the rights to Final Fight. And they made Streets of Rage, and everyone loved it, and it shits all over Final Fight. And that's why competition is good. All right, moving on to songs. Music in 1990. Mariah Carey releases her debut album titled Mariah Carey. Where do you get the name? Had hits like Vision of Love and Love Takes Time. My sister, again, was a big fan. And through osmosis, I became a big fan of Mariah Carey as well, even though it would take me about 20 years to freely admit it. One of my favorite songs ever is Always Be My Baby. Oh, love it. In 1990, Billy Joe Armstrong of Green Day dropped out of school to do music full-time. He was 18. I mean, At the time, a lot of people would have said, "Are you sure about this?" And then he goes on to be in one of the most successful rock bands in the world. I mean, at what point do you say to your parents, "See, nailed it. I told you so. I had this. From 18 years old, I had this, okay? Don't worry about it." I know if this had been in my family, my parents would be like, so if this whole rock thing doesn't work out, have you got can you fall back on something? I have a computer science degree, by the way, and my parents were always like, when I started getting into comedy and performing, they were like, okay, please just finish your degree and then just go do what you want, and you can always fall back on your degree. I have a computer science degree, so from 2003. So I could, as long as there's been no major technological advancements in the last 21 years, I'm pretty sure I can fall back on that, no worries, and just slip right back into it. Sometimes people ask me to fix things on the computers. It doesn't happen these days that much, but there was a time where people would ask me like, "Hey, what's wrong with this?" And I'd look at it and I'd go, "I have no idea, and I have a computer science degree. What the fuck?" Right? What else? Oh, a lot of great songs came out in 1990. Just a bit of a taste, a bit of a smorgasbord here. Wicked Game by Chris Isaak came out. Another Day in Paradise by Phil Collins. Blaze of Glory by Bon Jovi. Opposites Attract with Paula Abdul. And Scat Cat. Remember that? The cartoon cat in there? I used to think he was so cool because he was a cat that wore sneakers and shades. And he was a cartoon. And he got to dance with Paula Abdul. And I loved Paula Abdul. Black Velvet. So much love for Paula Abdul. She was an absolute fox. She wanted to be my first celebrity crush. Black Velvet by Alana Miles comes out. The Power by Snap. I've got the power. Oh my God. Later on, I will tell you about, years down the line, I will tell you when a Christchurch netball team essentially wanted some male cheerleaders and they turned to improvisers instead. So they wanted cheerleaders and what they got was fat comedians. And I was one of them. And we had to do this dance. We had to do this dance to I've Got the Power by Snap. And, oh God, I'm sure, like, this was years down the line, but I'll give you a little quick treat, a quick sneak peek into it. The netball team was sponsored by Mercury Energy, and they had this idea for the Mercury Men, and we would come out in yellow spandex. My God, I cannot believe I'm sharing this. We would come out in yellow spandex, and when I realized what we had to do, I was like, there's no way I'm doing this with my face out there. So I went to the costume hire place that we had access to, being part of the professional theater that we were at. And I got the biggest wig and the big rock star huge wig and the biggest sunglasses to cover most of my face. And that's what I did it in. And I turned up and the other guys looked at me and they're like, "Oh, you smart motherfucker. Oh, that's genius. I wish I'd thought of that." And, yeah, so we did this, and at one gang, we went out and we did our little dance, and then I remember someone yelling, and they went, "Javier?" And I just ignored them. I just was like, "No, I'm not Javier. I'm in character. I'm someone else. I'm Max Maximum." That was my name, Max Maximum. And they went, "Javier Harkeen." They were yelling at me, and I was just like, "Nope, not looking around." So that one makes me think about that. The Power by Snap. I will get more into that when the appropriate year comes around. What else came out in 1990? Rome by the B-52s, Ice Ice Baby by Vanilla Ice, Free Falling by Tom Petty, Can't Touch This by MC Hammer. Can't Touch This was huge. That made that guy so much money, and he went bankrupt. Because, I don't know, you just spend it on stupid shit, or you're not good with... Are you just not good with money, or you have people around you to tell you, "Oh, you should do this with your money," and they are also terrible with money? I don't know. Probably a combination. Top 5 songs of 1990, according to Billboard. At number 5, Vogue by Madonna. At number 4, Poison by Belle Biv DeVoe. At 3, Nothing Compares to You by Sinead O'Connor. At 2, It Must Have Been Love by Roxette. And at 1, Hold On by Wilson Phillips. My God, was this top 5 written by my sister. It is so female-leaning, and I love it. I love all these songs. I really do. What a powerhouse of a top 5. Was it last episode, like 89 or something, when I was talking about the top 5 songs were a total snorefest for me? Anyway, these, so good. Nothing Compares to You was... I didn't realize it was a Prince song. And it was did Prince actually sing it? Or he wrote it? I don't think he ever did it. So I don't think Sinead's is technically a cover, but it is a Prince song. Must Have Been Love is one of my wife's favorite songs because it is from the Pretty Woman soundtrack. Apparently, Roxette got the contract to do a song for Pretty Woman, and they wanted kind of like a more rocky song, but they gave them this instead, and they went, "Oh shit, this is way better." You know, sometimes when people ask for things and they don't know exactly what they want, you just gotta, you know, sometimes when people give you a brief and you can tell from what they want and what they describe, you go in your head, this is so wrong. You do not need this. This is the wrong choice. And sometimes you just have to give them the right thing and just go, just trust me, okay? Just take this and shut up. And then when it works, they go, oh, thank you. Thank you. If you're good at your job, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And Hold On by Wilson Phillips. Oh my God. What a one-hit wonder. This is maybe the best one-hit wonder out of the 90s. Fight me on it. I know we're only in year one of 1990, but I dare you to find a better one-hit wonder from 1990 that has the longevity, the catchiness, the soul of Hold On from Wilson Phillips. The flexibility to fit into any situation. Especially these days when everyone's like, I just can't carry on one more day. And there's Hold On for One More Day. Dun, dun. Oh, it's a banger. Movies. Moving on to movies. Goodfellas comes out in 1990. Holy shit. Scorsese, top of his game. And Joe Pesci is the scariest man in Hollywood when you watch Goodfellas. Because he's small, but absolutely unhinged. And you don't know what's going to do. Like that, go back and watch that scene, the How Am I Funny scene. You know, when there are a bunch of monsters hanging around and Joe Pesci is telling a funny story and Ray Liotta goes, oh, you're a funny guy. And Joe Pesci just suddenly stops and goes, how am I funny? Am I funny? How? How am I funny? Am I a funny guy? Yeah? And the guy's like, you're just funny the way you tell a story. Oh, I'm just here to amuse you? Is that it? And just the tension in this scene, let alone just because it's so good because you can just picture yourself being in Ray Liotta's position, and it is fucking terrifying. This guy who's just been telling a story and suddenly he takes offense to you for no reason. And then at the end, Joe Pesci goes, oh, I was joking. Fuck you were. You were absolutely doing a power play then. Oh, he's terrifying. He's terrifying. Dances with Wolves comes out in 1990, goes on to win Best Picture. I never saw it, but my sister did show me the bit of where the guy's putting a blanket down over the campfire and lets out a huge fart. And she found that hilarious. I remember she showed me and she burst into tears laughing, happy tears. And I was just like, it was the first time I looked at her and was like, really? A fart? Is that it? And she was just so happy with it. Good for her. Godfather Part 3. Godfather Part 3. Oh, could have been an amazing trilogy. Godfather Part 3 let down a little bit. Oh, anyway, Hunt for Red October comes out in 1990. Total Recall, Kindergarten Cop, Back to the Future 3. No, could have been an amazing trilogy. Oh, let down a little bit there on Back to the Future 3. Days of Thunder, Flatliners, Memphis Belle comes out. Memphis Belle was a kind of like a B movie in 1990. Like, I don't remember it having a big, huge cinema release or like much promotion presence around it. But so many people have watched this film. I don't know how I watched it, but I watched it and I love it. It's really simple. It's about an old World War II bombing mission and the guys on the plane. But I thought it was one of these like little hidden gems I'd found somewhere. And then pretty much everyone I've met, and it's come up, no one's ever gone, what's Memphis Belle? Everyone goes, oh, I love that movie. When, oh God, what's his name? Billy Zane was in it. Harry Connick Jr. was in it. My sister had a crush on Harry Connick Jr. Yeah, sorry, just let everyone know. Edward Scissorhands came out in 1990. Do you remember Tim Burton, obviously, just crazy, what the fuck is going on? But do you remember the scene in Edward Scissorhands where he has a flashback to where the guy that made him shows him some hands he's made for him? And Edward Scissorhands, like, just pokes his scissor blades through the hands. And the old man kind of gives him this weird look and then dies. That haunted me because it was the first time that I'd ever felt unnerved by something like it's because I didn't understand what was going on. And also just seeing this man's face and not quite understanding why he died or why he was pulling that face. Yeah, it was the first time I ever felt like, I don't understand what's happening, but I do understand that whatever is happening is making me feel very, very uncomfortable. And I can never really watch that scene in Edward Scissorhands again like that, because it makes me have that initial... It was the first time I felt a new emotion, and I was like, this is not a nice new emotion. I don't like it. Top 5 movies of 1990. At number 5, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the movie. They nailed it with this. They could have gone like, we'll just make a movie-length animated show, movie based on the show and stuff, and make it really kiddie. No. I remember seeing a statistic when the movie came out, a live-action movie, that it was 150% more violent than the cartoon series. I don't even know how you measure that, but someone came up with a statistic, and the best scene in that movie is when Raphael goes... By the way, the movie really showed us who Raphael really is, because in the comics, Raphael is a hothead. He is the antithesis of Leonardo. He's impulsive, he's a loner, he's the one that wants to break away. But in the cartoon show, they couldn't really have this guy that's losing his shit all the time. So they made Raphael a bit like a sarcastic kind of Chandler character. But in the movie, they brought Raphael back to his roots, and everyone went, oh, that's who Raphael is. And that's what makes this whole dynamic of the Turtles even better. So anyway, the best scene in the Ninja Turtles movie is when Raphael goes off on his own after having an argument with Leonardo, and then he gets ambushed on the roof by the Foot, and they just beat the shit out of him. But he goes down swinging. And that was awesome. Like, they hired real stunt martial artists that could do this stuff in these suits. Well done. Well done, you guys. Shredder was an absolute beast. Like, he just kicks the crap out of the Turtles at the end, and that's how it should have been. Because in the TV show, he's always going, I'll get you, Turtles. And they always, give him a kick in the bum or something. But in the movie, he's like, I don't want to fuck with this guy. It was great. It was exactly what the franchise needed. And at the perfect time, because the kids that have been growing up with the series were just getting to that age where they were could handle something more violent, something a bit more PG-13. So I just rode that wave perfectly of being the kid that I was into this thing where I was 8 years old, where I was just ready to start kind of seeing some real hard-hitting violence, and boy, did it deliver. I loved that movie. Pretty Woman was number 4 in the top 5 of 1990. Pretty Woman is my wife's favorite movie, and every time she watches it, I have to bite my tongue, because I mentioned it once and she was like, never mention this again, where I watched it with her and then I said, let me get this straight. This is a romantic movie where the prostitute falls in love with the guy that gave her more money than anyone else has ever given her before. And she kind of did that thing where she just went, no, and then went silent for a second and then just went, stop it. And you're like, okay, I made a good point, and I can tell because she just said, shut up. Number 3, Dances with Wolves. Number 2, Ghost, with Patrick Swayze and Demi Moore. Remember the pottery scene with, oh, my love, my darling, where he comes behind her and helps with the pottery. That scene is so famous, and it's been done either in homage or in piss take. It's so much. Do you remember when The Matrix came out and Neo does the bullet dodge, and just suddenly every movie was doing their own take on that, especially comedies. Every comedic movie would have someone do a Matrix bullet dodge in their movie. Ghost, this pottery scene, was the Matrix dodge of its time. So many comedic moments would have suddenly, someone would have their arms around and that song would come on and everyone knew exactly what they're talking about. It was just a very easy but instantly recognizable and funny joke. Yeah. Number 1, Home Alone. I mean, talk about cleaning up a Christmas season. I know studios do try to release movies around Christmas time because that's when everyone's going to the movies and stuff, and Christmas movies do well. I think Home Alone was the one that made studios go, okay, we're making a Christmas movie every year from now on, because that thing cost nothing compared to what it brought in. And I don't know what it was about that year. I know what it is about the movie. It's charming and it's funny and it's great. I watched it again. It takes a long time to get to the good bit. It takes a long time, but it's amazing. Catherine O'Hara, did I get that right? I'm not going to Google her name. I didn't. I'm just going from memory. Catherine O'Hara does an amazing job of playing Kevin's mum. There's a bit when she's halfway through her frantic journey getting home, where she's talking to a guy that cannot help her get a connecting flight or rent a car or something, and John Candy comes and approaches her to see if she wants to lift with him, and he's like, excuse me, and she just shoots him this, what? And it's exactly what my wife does to me sometimes. with love. at the start of the movie, this kid's movie, do you remember when Kevin's older brother, Buzz, Kevin's been told he needs to sleep upstairs, and Kevin goes to his older brother Buzz's room and says, Buzz, can I sleep in your room tonight? And Buzz gives him this look and just says, I wouldn't let you sleep in this room if you were growing on my ass. It is said with such venom, and the instant he delivers that line, you're like, okay, that's why they cast him. That was the audition tape right there. I wouldn't let you sleep in my room if you were growing on my ass. It's like, you just wouldn't find that kind of line in a kid's movie these days. We've lost something. We've lost something along the way. Anyway, Home Alone, amazing. Macaulay Culkin, I mean, for a kid actor, I can't remember the last time a kid held a movie like that. Hit me up in the comments or the discussion if you can remember, like, you know, in the last 20 years, a movie held so tightly by a child actor, all right, who is the protagonist and who gets 90% of the screen time. Let me know. He nailed it. And now I know he doesn't do movies anymore, but well done, mate. Take a bow. You peaked at 12. That was movies. Times Person of the Year in 1990 was George H.W. Bush, George Sr., for those people that know. The guy that always talked like this. The guy with the glasses, and I'm going to go there. I mean, I can't believe you got a father and son, both presidents. I mean, say what you like about these Bushes, but he was president. He was like, well, I'm president, and one day my son's going to be president, and fuck you all, it happened. What else happened when I was 8? I started karate when I was 8. I did karate for such a long time, for about close to 20, no, more like maybe 15, 16 years. And I started when I was 8. And it came around because the school holidays were coming around, and my parents said, school holidays are coming up. You're not just going to be sitting around the house. We're going to find something for you to do. And my mum just looked in the directory, the yellow pages. Remember those? There used to be these things called yellow pages. And she was like, oh, there's karate lessons. Do you want to do karate? And I think at the time I just went, yeah, sure, why not? And I remember my first lesson. We went there, and our sensei got us all lined up. And this wasn't a, hey, everyone, we're going to learn karate. One of the very first things he said was, okay, I'm going to teach you karate. I'm going to teach you some stuff. But, and then, I'll never forget this, he just bent down into a stance and punched the floor. It was a wooden floor. It punched the floor, and it just echoed around this hall. Like, boom. He punched the floor. I went, fuck me, he punched the floor. He just punched the floor, left his fist on the floor, and looked at us, and he said, if I ever hear of any of you using what I teach you to bully anyone else, I will come down on you like a ton of bricks. Is that understood? And we all just wet our pants and said, yep. And I said, good, okay, let's get started. And he was an amazing teacher. Incredible. And like, I loved it. But yeah, that's that first day. Just, poof, if you do anything. It was amazing. What an intro. What a first day. You know. What else? I can't believe I'm going to tell you the story. But when I was 8 at school, in my class, everyone each day would be picked to go and be the runner around school. So, you know, in those days before intercoms and stuff, they had to relay messages from the school office to classrooms, and you were the runner, and everyone wanted to be the runner because you got to be out of class for the day, and you just had to go like be in the office and send messages. So they give you like this message, and they'd be like, go send this to room 2, and you'd be like, yes, and you went down there like Hermes, and you come back, and you had important messages to deliver all day. I was doing it all day, and then near the end of the day, I went to deliver this message, and I just kind of gave the message to the teacher, and he said, hold on, I've got to write a message back. So he starts reading the message again and starts like really writing this long note back. And I have to pee. And he's taking his time. And I start doing that like crossing legs, squirming thing. Like I did not have the, I was 8. I did not have the maturity that you should have at that age. I don't know why I didn't just say, I'm sorry, I've got to pee, or can I go pee? Just the way of something he said, like, no, stay there, I've got to write this. Obviously, he was just meaning don't go away, but he could have, like, obviously he would have let me go to the toilet. But I just stood there, and then I just slowly wet myself. I could feel it. I just did that thing where it was like, try to hold it, and then I just went, I can't hold it anymore, and I felt it start to go, and I just crossed my legs, and I think I was about midstream when he handed it back. And I don't think he noticed because he just kind of kept his eye on his desk. And I just took it and I ran straight to the toilets and I was on damage control. I just looked down and I've never cursed school colours more than when I looked down at my grey shorts and just saw just this massive patch of piss. And just grabbed a wad of toilet paper. Oh, I finished pissing, by the way, first. I finished my business. And then I just spent the rest of the day just hoping no one saw. I don't know if anyone did. No one said anything to me about it. I think I went home, and by the time I got home, I think it had kind of dried off. I think I got changed immediately, threw the dirty, the offending items into the basket. But oh god, I think that's why I have a little thing about waiting anytime. Like, I think for the longest time, anytime anyone would ask me to wait, just wait there. I'd be like, for how long? I have to know for how long. Tell me, because otherwise I'm just going to wet myself. Yeah. I was 28. I was 8. I can't believe I just shared that story with you. There you go. That's the time I pissed my pants at school. Yeah, I think I'm going to end that there. Guys, thank you very much for listening. Really enjoyed this. Thank you for all the sharing or things you're doing. I'm seeing the numbers coming through, and it's good. Thank you very much for listening. I've set up a Discord for people if you want to just have a discussion about what's going on, or just in the comments of when I post it on socials, you can do it there. Join in. If you're listening to this as they come out, this is being recorded in July of 24, and in October I'm going to be doing a comedy special taping in London. If you want tickets to that, go to my website, javierharkeen.com, and you can get tickets there. Otherwise, thank you for doing everything that you guys do. Thank you very much. I'll catch you next time. Bye.
It's time to